All right, so numero uno. Uno, not 11. Uno. Yeah, so welcome to the deep water, people. I'm your host, John Brown. These are two of my, well, at least half of their lives training with me with my trainers. Got Siegfried Flores. Not that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Chris Nelson over here. Introduce yourselves a little bit, guys, and give a little bit of, I don't know, how you ran into me and your path and all that.
Go ahead.
I'll go first. Sorry.
Age before beauty. So
I was gonna say girly boys first. Go ahead.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Siegfried. Most people call me Sig for short. I was born in Rev Gym, basically.
He's not my kid.
No. Met John when I was 6 years old. And when we started, my parents put us into Taekwondo, this little school in a little shopping center in Raytown, right off 63rd and Blue Ridge Boulevard.
For those of you who don't know where that is out there in the country, Raytown was also the city that was used for Mama's Family on a wonderful, wonderful sitcom.
I didn't know that.
Those of us that made it out alive refer to it as Raytona Beach. But yeah, go ahead, brother.
Well, yeah, I was there for a few years, for however many, probably like 5 years or so. And then John ended up leaving, and then we went to another school for a little while, and then heard John starting up a new school, so we went over, joined him, basically been with him since then. Left for a little bit for college, and then after 10 years came back again and just been here since.
When you say left for college, you mean you got high?
Among other things.
Hey, you finished with a degree, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Because you made it out of Raytown with a. Didn't you have an IROC Z?
Trans Am.
Right.
That's what happens.
Now,
It's
you
at
do?
my parents' house. It's in their driveway.
That's awesome.
I'll
What year is that, TA?
82.
That's
As
fucking
soon as we
great.
get a garage.
In fact, it matches the hair,
Getting
the
it.
facial hair, though, is what it.
It still does.
So. Chris, I guess. Sorry, are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Nelson. See, I met you through your brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at 21 years old, and 21 or 22, and I was playing in a billiards league with your brother and another couple good friends of mine, and not living very healthy at 21 years old. I was already married and had one kid.
Did that have anything to do with the not being healthy?
Right.
Like how you
That
were
was
not
very-
being healthy and I was
mean,
married.
That's a judgment call, whatever you want to call it. But I was smoking, and I was smoking like a pack a day, probably more than that. That's why I went to the billiards league, because they gave away free packs, 2 free packs every week. So that was a cost-saving measure. I told my wife that we were saving money by me going out there. So, but I'd always, I did martial arts when I was a kid, and I'd always wanted to do it ever since I can remember. And plus, I knew I wanted to live healthier and get in better shape. And so yeah, your brother said, "Oh, you should go talk to my brother," and so it kind of stuck. Me and my best friend came over, and I think I fell in love with it right away. And over the years we did personal training, and that's when I became one of your trainers and teachers. And I think I was there for 9-10 years, and then I took a little bit of a break after a little personal time.
Hiatus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As we come and go, but I've always my heart's always been here at this Rev Gym with you, and so I think a couple years hiatus, and came back in 2015 and 2016,
Sounds right.
something like that. So
Yep.
Always come back.
always come back.
They
right?
always come back.
Well, it's bad as
You pulled him back.
I feel like I'm cheating if I ever go to any other gym. So it's
Loyalty.
like, right? Yeah. So
Sure. And I think there's a lot of that goes on in the martial art community. And so my brother, so I'm a lifelong martial artist. I'm 55. Started when I was 6. My brother is 16 years older than me. I was absolutely an oops. But he's the one that got me started in martial arts. And Thank God for my big bro. Love him to death. He's getting old.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, right. So you've been with me for 22 years. 28?
28?
27, 28 years for you. And you're how old now?
44.
So half your life.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
boom, half. And like your whole
The important life.
orphaned and given to me.
Right.
Yeah, these two guys, I mean, you two guys, I'd say loyal's an understatement. Love you guys, and I know you get it, and that's why I trust you with all the stuff that I have you do, the gym and the people. Your journeys have been, like everybody's on the planet, and that's the kind of thing I want to kind of get to. And the deep water, and our representation of the tsunami there is the same that we use for Rev Gym. We use it for our martial arts side of it, as well as I own a security company, the ISC Group, and the training division of that is Iron Arsenal. And so that's I'm not original. Deep water is actually something I stole from Mark Twight. It's a reference he used a lot. He's the one who helped found, the founder of Jim Jones, and fell in love with Jim Jones years and years ago. They're probably one of the only gyms. I'm referring to the old Jim Jones, not what they're doing recently in the past couple of years. Sorry, guys, not down with it. But the old school with Mark Twight and his pursuance of human performance and what could actually be done. That dude, if you guys haven't, his first book he wrote, Kiss or Kill, you need to read. That dude, I think it's 7. Ascended 7 peaks most people wouldn't even consider. And his theories and philosophies are phenomenal, and the way he would program and push human performance was great. Fell in love with his style of doing things. It spoke to all the kind of training that I had already done, and it was just adding elements, and to come across somebody with similar philosophical views and the psychology behind what he was doing. One of their mottos also at Jim Jones is the mind is first, which you guys nod. You hear me speak to things similar to that all the time, that it's, the physical is going to follow. Your brain's got to, that's the biggest muscle, the one that's got to get worked over and over and over and over. And to find yourself in the deep water is where we're going to take some of these conversations, because it's a lot of what my businesses have been built around, is the ability to go to that edge. A lot of people go to that edge and they'll maybe look at that abyss for a minute, but it's that willingness to take that step into it. And I guess it's also just a willingness to fail repeatedly, and then learning to get back up and trusting that 1% increment a day is what you're looking for. There's going to be leaps and bounds, and there's steps backwards, but it's willing to face that dark side of it and going to a place that you haven't gone before, and repeatedly doing that, whether that's on a functional side of our training, whether that's on the mat, whether that's combatives that we teach and run and learn and continue to grow with, and how that then filters out into every other part of life. I think is kind of the gist of what we do. Back on Twight real quick. So another reason I fell in love with this guy is, so I listened to some very obscure stuff when I was growing up in high school. My buddy Roger turned me on to some really cool stuff. Skinny Puppy and Ministry. And if you read Kiss or Kill, Twight was heavily into Skinny Puppy and would and do playlists for when he was doing Ascents on these. And if you guys get into the lyrics, it's very memento mori. I mean, it's very speaking to death all the time. It's very dark. It's a place where the correlation there is he would go to that dark place and let himself live in that to accomplish the thing that he was going after. It was not this big peppy cheerleader jump up and down. Yes, you can do it. It's not that. So I really resonated. It really resonated with me that Mark was on that same path. So I knew I'd found kind of I've never met him. Would still love to. He's off into different ventures in his life now, but created a really cool platform for a lot of people in training venues. Don't get me wrong, I still love Jim Jones. They're just not as hard as they used to be. They've gone to a different venue, and I get it. Things evolve and things change, but I'm old, so I like hard.
Yeah, but to be fair, Taylor Swift wasn't even around back then, so it might be a different story.
Fuck. No. No.
No, not same level. Okay.
No. Even though we're Chiefs fans, no.
Right.
So speaking of just the general philosophy, because you guys are instructors for me on the mat with the kids, and you assist with the adult stuff, and our martial art is rooted in traditional stuff, rooted in traditional combat taekwondo, hapkido, and judo, and then I had quite a bit of kickboxing work in there as well. I wrestled, and then straight submission combat. I'm not built in jiu-jitsu. I'm built it in judo. I always try to say it's kind of, we just get there differently. All the same subs are there, and particularly the modern styles, and we just get there different. We more silverback and want to smash you on your head first and then maybe submit you, and as opposed to being, I don't know, a spider monkey or a chimpanzee. It just a little bit different mentality, that's all. Love both of them. They're both great sports, both great arts. But what we've evolved into is, the base of the gym side, Revolution Gym, Rev Gym, was revolution. It had to do with Rev being a revolution for an individual, but the evolution of everything that we do and staying with things as they evolve and they grow. And martial arts is one of those things that I love watching next generations come up with the new things that they're doing and the applications of, and being able to develop blueprints that work with chains and flows, and us being able to interrupt those as well and deal with individual styles. So I would say we were a traditional based mixed martial art in how we train. We train to get the job done. There's not this is this or that is that, or this style is better than that style. I've always said it comes down to the practitioner. You can take a practitioner that's a phenomenal boxer and you put him against somebody who's not phenomenal in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Sleepy night. And vice versa. You take somebody who talks a bunch of shit that's a striker that's never been on the ground, and somebody that's adept in jiu-jitsu or any kind of a grappling art, goes the other way. So and it's just even at the highest levels, that same thing happens. So in that philosophy and that pursuit, and speaking to that, when you guys, like you mentioned, starting to fall in love with martial art, and you, in a different time in your life. I mean, Sig was this vibrant little run all over the gym monkey. He and his brother, would just run and jump off the walls all the time. I mean, literally. And then flying kicks off the walls and stuff in class. They were on my demo team and all kinds of stuff. It was a lifetime ago. So I would say maybe, your love for it at that stage in life is you've probably evolved into a different love for what you do. And not just speaking to martial art, but just, once again, I go back to kind of the philosophy of the things that we do. And, so why have you guys stuck around? other than I might kill you. I mean, but.
Well, I would say, even, in 22 years, God, that seems so weird to say that even out loud, is that I've seen the gym has evolved as I've evolved, right? So, yeah. I think just listening to you talk about it, where we started 22 years ago, when I started 22 years ago, how we were still combat, traditional, street oriented, and just how that's evolved over the years. It's always changed, right? So even though as maybe the tides of the training of the general public has gone, you've adapted. I don't want to say adapted because you always had the knowledge there, but we've changed. We haven't been stuck in our traditionalism, I guess, if that makes sense, right? So
we haven't let ego lead the way,
right?
We're getting stuck in. I think sometimes gyms get stuck.
Well, especially when they're combat. Is it sport or is it truly for street combat, self-defense scenarios, or fighting in a ring? So I've loved that evolution for my knowledge and personal training. And then again, I've always loved the camaraderie, the people we've had here. You know, there's some of us that have been here, you know, 20 plus years. You know, they're still just we're doing martial arts now. They're just mainly work out on the rep side.
Kevin Wallace.
Yeah, Kevin Wallace.
Calling you out, Kevin.
Calling
you
out,
get back on the mat.
But, you know, but there's been a few, I mean, that have come and gone, and, you know, and even those people that have left, we're still good friends with, you know, and so I still appreciate that. And I think it's where does my trust lay in, you know, you've always had a great care for where people are at, you know, and so even when I haven't been a part of the gym, you've always been there. You know, you don't get that at a commercial gym. You know, you don't get that at a gym with, you know, 300 or 400 participants. You know, there's loyalty there. Yeah, it's both ways. You know, I guess that makes sense to me. So, yeah. I mean, if I'm going to put my money and my time in place, I want to be, where's the family? Who am I going to go into battle with? You know, if something happens, you know, and that's kind of that daily battle that, you know, I struggle with on myself. And, you know, I've always got you in my corner. So that's kind of why I'm here. So,
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like John said, I kind of grew up here. Did a lot of national tournaments, won a lot of medals, and everything, championships. And then obviously tried another school, didn't find what I was looking for, get the same challenges I did, so came back here. And then when I left for school, I went to California and LA for a little bit and trained at a UFC gym out in Torrance there for a little bit, which was okay. But then when I moved back here about 8 years ago, 2016, moved back here, and then I think at that point I was probably at my heaviest. I was like almost 170.
Oh my God, get out of here.
I'm like fatty. I am tiny. I'm like 5 feet tall. So 170 is like BMI.
5 feet wide.
Obese. Yeah.
You were A-shape.
Also,
you were not in shape.
Yes. I was also smoking packs of cigarettes there. I was just not in a good place. And then randomly, I was with my wife now. We were at Overland Park Farmers Market and saw John, and so I whispered to Ashley, I was like, that used to be my trainer. She was like, go say hi to him. Okay.
I don't want to.
Yeah, he's going to tell me to go back into the gym.
I just need to lose 2 or 3 pounds
and
first.
I went over and ended up talking to him, and then told me about the new gym and all the new stuff with it. So I went over there to check it out. I think I came in on a Saturday, on a sadistic Saturday. So that put me back on my ass, and it was just something I hadn't felt in a long time. It was challenging, and I know what it's like for him to crawl up
You
your
can say
ass and
horrible.
yell.
I take pride in horrible. I don't get mad when somebody says horrible.
Yeah. But I ended up coming back again, and then coming back again and again, and it just becomes a habit. And then, I mean, when you're here for that long, and it definitely feels like, it like you said, it's like home, basically. So
yeah, definitely home.
Yeah.
So
I mean, consistency is definitely a big factor, and if you're within that headspace, you keep coming. You just kind of, becomes a part of your life, and you can't really get out of it.
Nah.
yeah, you know, I would. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was say, you know, it's as a man, and you know, there's not many places that we have that are ours, and not that this is a male only place, but as far as the camaraderie and the brotherhood goes, and even with females too, we have that same kind of vibe in here, you know. So there's not a lot of that out there in the world. You don't get that necessarily from I hate to say it, families anymore. You know, you don't have a lot of support from your family. You don't have a lot of support from your work. We're just kind of drudge on, and that's not just a man thing. That's I'm sure that's a female thing too. But I can't speak to that level. But you know, here
Karina.
You could, but you'd be corrected.
right? Sure. But I mean, just saying, it's just there's a big support system here that you don't get a lot of places. You know, when I went through my divorce, 17 years ago now, 16 years ago. I felt more support from this gym family than I did even from my own family, and that was a big thing for me. So, you don't get that at a lot of other places.
Yeah. So, what did you love about the training as a kid? Can you remember how it felt as a kid to train and to step on the mat, do the things that we did? Because I don't remember, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember if you ever getting on the mat and like drudging on there, like dragging yourself as a kid. I mean, you were always like ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest reasons a lot of kids
Besides
do
fear.
it is, well, like a lot of people, reason why people start is because like movies and TV shows, like they
Sure.
watch Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. And like, I want to do all that stuff. But I mean,
So, I mean, your whole family.
yeah, all
trained.
my cousins, my sister, and my brother. Yeah.
I mean, one of your guys' cousins was like one of my training partners.
Yeah.
I think that's how
uncle.
Yeah, your uncle. That's right.
Yeah.
He's such a good dude. How's he doing?
He's good.
Love that dude.
I've
He
been
helped
trying
me
to get him.
perfect. He helped me perfect my front kick.
Yeah, he was telling stories about how when you were little and you were having to train with all the adults.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I was not a nice child. Yeah, he's a good dude. Okay, so yeah, I mean, can you recall what it felt like? Like, were you excited to come to class?
Yeah, but I mean, I think growing, I think at least within my family and my parents, like discipline was a big thing that we learned. So learning that, I mean, it's a Filipino Catholic household.
Da-da-da-da, yeah.
Did you guys have any fun?
Well, I mean, and your folks maintain that culture too, right? And so I think so. I mean, from what I remember too, that was one of the things your mom wanted big time was you guys to have discipline somewhere other than the home to understand. I think that it's a way of life, and it's not just you weren't being singled out because you're United States and a Filipino culture at home. Yeah, because I remember you guys. There's only a couple of times I remember you guys. The only time you guys came in and were kind of was like you and Bien were at each other about something.
Yes.
Yes, brother. How far are you guys
Get
apart in
to
age?
Spar, like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Great way to solve issues, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they got to fight it out. It was good. I remember you guys coming in your Cub Scout and Weeblo uniform with your scarves or handkerchiefs, coming in and having to change into your dolbok and your gi.
Yeah. Well, it was straight school and then Boy Scouts and then that and then whatever sport we were doing at the time, track or basketball or something. But yeah, we definitely.
That's the thing that comes up from a lot of parents that I talk to too. And one thing I can speak to about martial art from being a kid myself is it helped enhance every other sport that I did. And I was also in probably some strength and speed training early on because of my dad. My dad was a trainer. But it enhanced everything else that I did. And I think there's a lot of parents now are like, my kid's too busy. Now, I will say one thing. When I was a kid and even when you guys were kids, I don't think there was like fucking 8 and 9 o'clock at night soccer practice anywhere.
We had basketball practice. I mean,
You have it that late?
7th and 8th grade. Yeah, we'd go have basketball practice till like 8 o'clock, or we'd start at 8 o'clock and go till 9:30 at least.
Is it like in Little League stuff, or was that like school?
That was Little League stuff.
Little, yeah.
Yeah. So outside.
No, mind you, yes, you're quite a bit younger than me, but
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, yeah, but it's. I don't think that we were having that for the 7 to 10-year-olds. That was I was 12 and 13, 11 till 13.
Yeah. I
middle
mean,
school.
I believe there's got to be a balance for kids, but I also believe kids have a lot more energy than anybody gives them credit for, and they're just sat in front of tablets and shit too much, and that's part of the deep water thing we do too. I mean, we have a great kids program. We work with kids. I've got several kids now. I've got a kid that's really high level club level catcher, 15 years old. We've got some other kids that just train private or semi-private in martial arts. The parents have reasons they want them going semi-private. They're fluent, so they want their kids to be able to understand what grit looks like, and part of it's timing because they're also in other sports. The daughter's like a very high-level softball player, but she also does martial art. And the boy, this is his one thing he does. But in speaking, like we do have several kids that come in and they play basketball, they play baseball, they play football, and they still do martial arts. And I mean, over the years, I've heard from other parents as well. The same effect that it had on me was that it enhances everything else that they do. Because we're tight on the mat, and we're tight in our gym community here, like Chris is talking about. But it's some of those things too. Is I try to create that philosophy and psychology from the martial art mat over to the functional side, where you're in it alone, but you're in a safe place where you know somebody's going to pick you up if you fall down. I mean, nobody's reaching out for you here. Everybody watches everybody else get back up off the mat or off the floor on the other side if you're in a puddle of sweat or blood or vomit, whatever. But you're getting up, but you know you're in a foxhole. You're in there with somebody else that's going through the same stuff. And I think that carries over when kids then play team sports, that they know what they have to give and they know that they can be relied on. Yeah. And so I think that empowers them in two different ways. And that, that's going to do nothing but carry over into everyday life. And it's the same effect we want on, like I said, we want on our adults that are in here, on whatever part of the gym experience that we're doing.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too comes down to the confidence they gain on the mat. I mean, it's that mental. I mean, you said there's that grit, but I mean, as we're training them and teach them, it's not easy. It's. I mean, obviously we all know, but it's. They gain so much confidence just from being here and going through the hard stuff. Even when they fail, that's an easy translation to not just other sports, but to their schoolwork and to dealing with outside influences. And I think just giving them that internal confidence to be themselves and to reach and do life. I think that's. I mean, we've had parents talk about the confidence shift in their kids in a very short period of time. I think. I think if you get hit in the face a couple times, you learn. You're like, oh, well, hell, I can deal with a lot of stuff. I'm not afraid of a bully coming at me or pushing me into doing something I shouldn't be doing, or getting. I swear to this day, I wish I would have been more in martial arts when I was a kid before I played football, because it took me a few years to get over the being scared of getting hit with
snot bubbles.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, man, if I knew then what I knew now, of course, I'm 20 years older, but hindsight, I think what I would have done, I would have been different in my head, just because I wouldn't have had that fear of getting hit and hitting people. So. But anyways, but I think the confidence is a big thing that they get from that. Just being in here and going through the hard stuff over and over again. It's. I
see it in adults and young adults too, on that confidence level. I think a lot of our guys that have fought for us, and me as well. A lot of that, people ask, what's that desire to get into a full contact or an MMA bout or an NHB bout, and it's, if you're gonna break it down, I mean, once again, can't speak for females. Most of the guys I know that have had a career in it, there's a respect thing in there. You're looking for some respect. Yeah, you didn't get somewhere else, and when you're in there and you put somebody else's lights out, man, you're getting nothing but that crowd going nuts. Right. And so there's a thing there, and that unfortunately too can also that's a whole other podcast for us. That's a whole other episode of talking about how that can also become addictive and a bad thing. But the empowerment side of it too is this is soapboxy time. I'll name names here, but quit putting black belts on kids that aren't teenagers. Stop it. And calling it martial arts. You can call it martial sport or something like that, and they're doing it for a belt level to compete against somebody else. It's like that. But don't quit giving kids and parents a false sense that your kid can actually defend themselves against 1, 2, 3 grown-ass adults that are coming at them hard and wanting to kidnap them or take them away. Don't give that false sense. Please, for the love of God. That's a disservice to humanity, not just to the arts themselves. So you guys out there with schools that are doing that, fucking knock it off. I mean, it's not. We're better than everybody else. There's certain standards that I live by, and I'm not going to put a belt on somebody that can't defend themselves. I think one of the youngest is Cole was one of the most recent youngest. He was 14, but and these guys could testify to it because they do the same thing. I mean, our kids that are teenagers that we refer to as a junior black belt, they've got to fight 3 adults. It's one, and then we add one, and then we add one, and they're going for 15 minutes, no pads, and it's 100%. And I would say the adults are probably going 75, 80. Okay. And the kids, I mean, we're not looking necessarily for the kids to knock those 3 adults out because it's 3 black belts they're going against. And we expect the kids to get actually, to be very honest, and some parents may like this, they may get a bloody nose.
Mm-hmm.
They may get a black eye.
Yep.
There may be tears. But part of that edge of learning empowerment is also that child's going to walk off of that mat knowing they earned something and knowing that if something bad happens tomorrow, one, they've got the knowledge to evade it.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the knowledge to mitigate it. They've got the dialogue, the verbiage, the verbal judo, if necessary, to talk the way out of something. If something does go physical, it may be a bad situation where survival is the best they're going to get, but they know they can because they've been pushed to that level of having to perform in an uncomfortable space.
Right.
And I'll be honest, we've had parents say, I don't think my kid's ever going to be a black belt with you. And I'm like, no, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I won't do it. I won't slap the belt on for any amount of money. There's just too much.
Well, and I don't think kids don't have to get a black belt to get anything out of it, right? Even if they come for a year or two. My ex-wife and I had the argument about whether or not to keep our kids in it after we divorced, and of course I wanted to keep them in there, and she didn't want to fight with them about it. And if I talk to them both now later on in life, they're both in their mid-20s. They both wish we would have kept them in it, but to this day, they still, even though they were only in it for I think 3 to 4 years, they still remember lessons. They still have that muscle memory from those times, So, it's even that short-term exposure really does something to them internally. So,
well, I think too. I mean, and places are gonna methods of teaching and methodology are gonna be different. Mm-hmm. I would say for sure we've a lot of kids. No, you don't have to be a black belt to know how to get out of something.
Right.
I'm just referring to what that should be standing for.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that survivability too. I think that's something for all martial artists to at least experience once or twice. I remember. I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from you before that first fight was you put me on the ground and sat on top of me, and I think it was 3 minutes of you just told me to survive, and it was just you raining punches down. Of course, again, I'm in my late 20s, mid-20s doing this, so we're not doing this to kids, but it's, again, being able to block and getting punched. I mean, I had, I think, fist marks.
Grit.
Yeah, just surviving. And
fighting,
and I was, work the next couple days was interesting because, I was a professional then too, and I had, your knuckle marks across my forehead and a couple black eyes, and I came home, my wife started crying. I'm like, no, I'm cool, I'm alive. So, but again, then when I got into the ring, there was, that was cake. I mean, kind of for the most part, it was, except for the being cardio shape. But I'm not afraid of getting punched. That's the switch.
Would you say your kids' experience being a kid in class, what carried over for you into your adult?
I definitely think on top of the confidence, it fills a lot of what you're lacking. Like I said, I'm small. Like my whole life, I've always been the smallest guy in the room. But I mean, with all the martial arts training I have and everything, like stand like you're freaking 7 feet tall, still be the smallest guy in the room. You just kind of feel that sense of confidence. Yeah. I mean, it's like that scene in Fight Club with the bus when they're just like measuring up people. Yeah, definitely. I mean, in all aspects, it just kind of fills whatever you're lacking. Like, I know some of the parents in here, they come in and talk about how their kids are like super introverted or really like in their own shell, and then when they, after coming in here for a few weeks or a few years, they're like a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say that's in any other aspects of your life, though, and including not just martial art? We've been kind of on that because that's the root, but even on the functional side, on the training there, and that carryover. Where would you say that stuff has worked for you guys, and then maybe where you've seen it transition for other people? Like even your wife, Ashley's sick. So like in your adult life, where have you seen the rollover from the training now, maybe in the past couple of years, as opposed to the kid love for it? How's it affected your life?
Well, going back to the discipline again, I mean, you just kind of like push yourself. Like when I was a kid, it was very much my parents pushing, but then once you get older, they're not there to push you, so you got to do that for yourself. So I definitely feel like that's something that carries over, and also just kind of letting go of any kind of fear of failing or getting hurt. Well, obviously you need to,
because you're gonna
safe,
fail.
but but you're still gonna keep pushing on.
Right. Okay. What have you seen? We'll pick on Ash for a minute. What have you seen?
There right now.
Oh shit! All right. Well,
It's all good things.
really quiet.
All good things. All good things.
what changes you seen in her? I mean, how long you guys been together?
7 years. Wow. 8 years, I know.
So you better say the first 7 things are good things that's changed in her body then, right? How hot she is. You can't. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh yeah. How I love you. First 7 things are about your body.
So what? Did it take much to get her to come to the gym initially?
Yeah, she was. I mean, when she first came, she thought it was gonna be just me training, and she was just gonna, I'll just go and watch. But then she got pulled into it, and then she loved it, and then kept coming because she was. I mean, her dad when she was younger, she like brought her into kind of weightlifting and weight training, so she's kind of been in that space for a little bit. But then obviously she became an adult, and then there wasn't much of that push,
parental push
outside,
again, right?
yeah.
Got to find your own way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then she started coming, and then it became a regular thing, and then we both, it's just something that we just do. Like we know that we got to come in here, but she's definitely
So what do you
gained a lot
mean
more
gotta?
confidence in there.
Tell me about the gotta.
Gotta come in.
Because you say I gotta come in, right?
I mean, obviously habit is a big part, but it's like if you don't come, like sometimes we'll not come in for a few days or a week, and then just something's missing and feels off. So, and then you come back and you're like, that's what it was. So, I mean, sometimes it's coming in here to blow off steam, or just like shit happened at work and you just need a quiet space or loud space. You just need
Either way,
to
right?
hit something or pick up heavy shit and drop it.
It's church.
Yeah.
It's just
Choice.
there's no, you just do it, right? You just show
It's
up.
not church. It's choice.
Choice. So
Okay. So discipline, that's come up. Consistency, right? Those things. Where would you say it's rolled over into your adult life, Chris?
I always feel like consistency is, the hard part for me. I do struggle with. I feel like I struggle with staying disciplined on a plan and trusting my own plan. I know I've always struggled with that, but I just show up, right? So it's not always the. I don't always feel like I make the best show up. Does that make sense? The best.
So in other words, maybe not 100% effort.
Not 100% effort, yeah, but I show up no matter how my body's feeling, even if it's just to teach or what. I'm just, my head is always here. It's always my head. And
You need
heart
to
is
get your
always
ass to follow harder.
Right.
Okay.
But that being said, even at work, I don't claim to be the smartest guy, I'm definitely not the smartest guy. Obviously, you can hear from the way I'm talking. But you know what?
Words are hard.
I outwork everybody, no matter what I do. Even when I'm not the smartest, or I don't even think I'm the fastest or the strongest. I tend to, whatever I'm involved with something, I tend to outwork everybody.
So I go back to grit.
Right.
I was saying to him.
But again, and I don't even feel like I'm putting that much effort into it. It's just showing up every single day, and God love my girlfriend because she's dealt with me in this way, is that I work all the time. There's no turned off for me. I'm answering emails at night, and I'm looking at stuff on the weekends, and I work part of a global team. So, last week I was up at 3 a.m. for a meeting, and I put that effort into my work. And it's just easy because it's just being there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I'm a part of it. And I feel like I do the same thing here at the gym. Pushing myself is always one of the worst things I feel like, but I feel like I'm still better than what most people are. And I hate that. It seems like a cop-out because...
Well, it should be you versus you.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's what I've been, as I've gotten older, I've realized that and worked on not worrying about what everybody else is doing. I just focus on me, and so it's the same thing with work. Is I don't care what anybody else in any other country is doing. This is what we're doing.
Right.
This is what I'm doing because this is how I'm going to run my team, and how I'm going to support everybody. And there's a reason why I feel like my team's one of the best and out of all the whole companies. So it's just. I don't know. I guess I don't know if I'm dancing around the question, but how has discipline applied itself into other parts of my life?
Well, the experience here. So you've learned discipline, consistency, grit.
Right, showing up. I'll say this one thing that's really I think come into focus the last few years as I've matured is
in quotes.
Right. I would say even with my personal relationships. The discipline of showing up for your partner. I think emotionally, yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's not about me. It's outside of myself, which is way easier, I think, to be disciplined towards somebody else. We had this conversation the other week. It's like I can be way more disciplined when it's involving someone else than myself.
Well, sure, because
right?
you don't have to look at yourself in the mirror when you're just serving. Right.
Well, it's an easier sacrifice. I have no problem, and I don't know if this is from my upbringing or just my toxic masculinity coming through, but it's way easier for me to...
Don't say toxic masculinity. Shut the fuck up.
I said that in quotes.
God damn it. I hate that. Fuck.
Well, it's...
Masculinity is not toxic.
No, right.
Let's
The
be
lack
clear.
of...
All you feminists can fucking hate me and never look at another one of our podcasts again.
But, it's... I'm way more apt and ready to lay myself down on an altar of sacrifice for my partner, or for my kids.
Right.
But
for yourself,
for myself, I'm like, meh.
Well, so what are you saying, man? Because I've suffered from it too, and I've done therapy.
Yep.
Self-worth issues.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's always easier that inner dialogue that
Sure.
was probably somebody else's voice at some point, or 5 or 12.
Well, I think it's a society thing too, because
You
when you think
start
about
believing
it, is when the boat's going down, who gets off first? Women and children, right? So we're programmed.
And as men, we should be
right
as protectors, and that's part of what we do here.
And I have no problem doing that, And I would put myself, I would sacrifice myself for either one of you guys too. That's that's where it comes. So it's not just about women and children. It's about I'm ready to serve and sacrifice for others. But when it comes to myself, I let the shit slide. So. And we're working on that. It's a work.
Right. Well, and I guess
so.
the thing about that is part of the thing where I've spoke to in some of our men's nights is you're on that plane and that oxygen mask drops. The rule is you put it on first. So it's the same thing with your training, showing up for yourself, giving 100%. Because the more you do that, the more ready you are to serve somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's where our training, the functional side is designed around 85% readiness, right? Because we work with a lot of Leo. We work with a lot of, LEO. We work with a lot of MIL. We work with a lot of first responders, nurses, fire departments, and it's a sense of readiness, right? But the way we do things on both sides, the mat and the functional side, that's what it's there for. And no, fuck you. It's not overtraining.
That's one of my biggest reasons of coming is like being prepared physically and mentally. Like if shit were to go down, you're going to know what to do. You're going to be physically able to do what needs to be done. So that's part of that. That's almost a requirement if you want to be a protector.
Right. And if you don't, and the thing is, we're not just going through the motions either. That's where this mental side of the deep water I talk about comes in. Because you're not prepared mentally. You can be the most physically prepared son of a bitch on the planet. You can have, 50-inch fucking biceps and you can be fucking huge. But if you can't defend yourself, you don't know what actual violence looks like. You haven't been stress inoculated. You haven't dealt with things. Even just for life, if you can't pick up a heavy thing. start picking up heavy things because shit may happen someday you need to. It's the type of training we do and the type of things that we try to lead with in our martial arts. I've referred to it a lot of times as car insurance. I don't buy car insurance because I plan on getting in a wreck, but if I do, I better fucking have it, right? So your insurance is the training that we do. And the level of training we do is one of our mottos has always been on both sides is we die here to live there. So it's willing to throw yourself on the fire, burn off the shit that doesn't, if you want to call it weakness, you want to call it weak spots, or you're working on things to go forward, and you're willing to fall on that sword every single day, to go out on your shield every single day. You're developing a muscle memory in your entire being that leads to that sense of servitude that if it came down to it, yeah, we're gonna, and then to me, that's such an easy translation for those that do want to go sports side and compete. Because that mentality's there. You're willing to give it all.
Right.
You've gone through the days of knowing, like you just spoke to, that was not 100%. And so how many days can we look at, we've looked in the mirror and gone, okay, that was 100%, that was 100%, that was 100%. And there's nowhere to hide here. We have no mirrors. Yeah. We have no comfortable place to sit down. There's a water cooler. There's, and it's, ain't nobody chasing glamour up in this motherfucker.
Well, I think that's one of the, when you talk about how does the discipline translate, we have done so many hard things in here over the years. Everything else is cake.
Yeah, I like that. This is the hardest thing that you do.
Right. It's like
in your 24 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So after, like you said,
work.
after that.
Oh, I got to put an extra hour at work. Oh, darn, that's really, my finger's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, I
killed myself in the gym this morning.
Right.
Anything that happens after that doesn't.
I mean, I get if you're a
boss comes by and asks the TPS report, you're like, yeah, fuck off.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just over the years, it's just everything is simpler. I'll be honest. I'll say, as we were talking about how does this translate over, being involved in martial arts, being in here, I would say even at 44 years old, for an average middle-aged white guy, that's had kids
privileged.
And been married, privileged if you would call that. I've been able to keep my body. I think even as I've injured myself over the years, I can still do things that most guys our age won't do. We can't do. So
right.
Can you touch your toes?
Still getting
right. I may not be able to run a sub 10-minute mile right now, but that's because you screwed up your back. But
you're not going to die if you had to.
Right. And
if shit hit the fan and you had to go do it.
Yeah. I've played basketball with kids that are half my age, and at least I don't want to know about holding my own, but I didn't.
You didn't
down
die.
And die, right?
But did you die?
Yeah.
Still getting PRs too. That's a huge confidence boost.
Right. I was like,
Well, you still got one of the best verts in the gym.
Not that other
35. Yeah, the kid that just beat you is 17.
I know.
Okay? And he's literally...
He's like
I'm not giving you
pounds.
excuses
Yeah.
or making it easy on you, but the kid's literally muscle and sinew. I mean, he's not getting a lot off the ground. And mind you, I want to say he's taller than me. I want to say he's 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he's definitely.
And you're
5,
shrinking.
4. Oh, no, yeah. I'm going to catch him.
Yeah, there you go. See? Fuck you, young bucks.
I'm not old.
Yeah, I guess I hope this gives everybody kind of a sense or a feel of like where we're coming from. We're going to have some more targeted episodes. Some will be around martial art and the state of and what's going on out there. Also, our Iron Muscle Combatives program, the state of that as an art or program and how it's developed and where it's come from and what we're doing for our security forces and our military and our LEOs and our first responders in that sense, but also on the civilian side. We've got a big civilian following on that side as well. And then we'll have talks on security and what you guys can do to take care of yourselves and your family and little bits and nuggets. And we're going to have some We'll have some training videos of our own stuff in here, and there'll be some comparison of stuff that we do that's been very, very stress inoculated compared to stuff that people watch on YouTube and try to repeat and call it a program, and you're idiots. And then we'll also speak to, around these psychology things. We're going to have some guests other than my trainers, and we'll have some of our own clientele, and I'm hoping to get some other guests in here, some other martial arts instructors and other trainers from around town and around the country, and we'll have a good time with it. There might even be alcohol and not just caffeine.
Whiskey's
a good time with it.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you very much. Love you both.
Thanks
very
you too.
much.
Thank you.
You guys are fam.
It's fun.
For sure. Thanks.
So,
Peace.
thanks, guys.